Hello, everyone, and welcome to my talk show called Allowed to Talk. And today I'm going to continue the show by reading a chapter from the book I wrote called Who Took My Self-Esteem, or Who Took My Self-Worth, actually, because I felt worthless and like nobody. Inner critics are like trolls. I'm going to continue by reading chapter 5. And I didn't read this book in a while, even though I wrote it. I wasn't sure what chapter 5 was, but it's about favorites. The title of chapter 5 is titled Favorites. My mother definitely had a favorite child. I heard more times than I care to discuss the words, "I love you all the same." Most people have heard that statement. That is thrown around way too easily. Know that actions speak louder than words. If having a bed that stank like pee to sleep in and food on the table is love, then I guess I was loved. Actions didn't speak that at all. My mother was the boss, and she got her way or you got the highway. My dad had to conform to her bidding in all things and always. She had her favorite child and others of her 10 children that were considered heroes to her liking. Along with favoring the boys, she favored her firstborn son the most. When he needed or wanted her to aid him in anything, she dropped everything, everyone, and pushed on for him no matter what or who was being pushed aside and away. What she said happened, or else. I got the or else end of the stick. I heard the words, "You are to live right and live by the 10 Commandments," yet I rarely saw that happening. When I spoke up in my teenage years, I was labeled the troublemaker, especially when I was the truth teller about my 16-year-old sister and my other sister's husband. Like I said earlier, I was the messenger that was shot dead. Not only was I shoved aside for the farm work and sewing by my grandparents, I'll tell that story later in the book, my brother's everything came first, including his wedding and his firstborn daughter, my mom's first grandchild. I was shoved away faster than snow on a heavy traveled highway, and I was only 2. I turned 2 when she had her first grandchild. I was born January 22nd, and I turned 2 on January 22nd, and then my mom's first grandchild was born on January 31st. So I was 2 years old. And then I was age 7 when my oldest brother, my mom's favorite child, was getting divorced from his wife of 5 years. Here is where I will go back 5 years to explain why he got married when he was only about 20 years old. I was 1 year old when my mom's oldest child was 19 years old. He met a beautiful, on the outside girl. She was darling. He dated her for a few months, and then the wedding was being planned. Why? Because she got pregnant. They had sex before they even got to know each other very well, which happens. We all make mistakes, and give in to that temptation. But they got married because she was pregnant. I think September was the wedding. September, January, February, March, April, May. September, October, November, January, February, March. Okay. So I'm all upset right now. So let me do this again. The baby was from the wedding born how many months later? September, October, November, December, January. 6 months later they had a baby. So she was pregnant, definitely pregnant at the wedding. I was only 1 year old. Turned 2 in January. My brother and his girlfriend had a fancy church wedding, and one of my sisters took video of the day of that wedding. Video got lost with all the other videos she took of the family functions. The guy who supposedly had the videos claims he didn't. Anyway, the videos disappeared in the family dysfunction. On my oldest brother's wedding video, there is a tiny 1-year-old girl in a pretty blue dress. The little girl has long, wavy blonde hair. She is walking in front of the church past the steps of the front entry. Whenever the family viewed that video, when I was older, of course, someone would speak out these words, "There is our little Kate, walking past the front steps of the church." I watched intently and wished, if only I would have looked like that and had a dress like that. It was definitely my cousin Barb, who we nicknamed Boopy. I never spoke up because I was the worthless nobody who always was shot down with words such as, "You will be seen and not heard." I wanted to speak the truth so bad, but rarely did. My brother stayed married to his wife for around 5 years, and what I know now is that those 5 years were filled to the max with infidelity on her part. She was a sex addict, what was called a nymphomaniac back then. He tried to stay with her, forgiving her over and over and over again. The straw that broke the camel's back was when she had sex with my oldest sister, Maggie's husband. He should be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, but never will be. Maggie stayed with him and forgave him after he claimed that she came on to him. He would talk of the possibility of Ken's youngest child maybe being his. She looks nothing like him, though. My oldest brother's fourth child was his because he said so. No tests were ever done to see if the child was my brother-in-law's or my other sister's boyfriend, Larry's child. Both were involved with her before the birth of their fourth child. The divorce had to happen for my brother's physical and mental health. There really wasn't much for his ex-wife's sex addiction at that time. I will include that later in the book about the divorce and everything. I had recently turned age 7 when my mother blasted into the room just inside the front door of the farmhouse we rented from Grandma and Pap. She was genuinely upset about the fact that her favorite son had to get a divorce. I was never told who, what, where, when, or how until many years later. So, think like a 7-year-old child who had to see and hear this going on. How a 7-year-old needs nurturing love and care from their mother. My mother burst forth, exclaiming that my brother would be moving back home with his 4 children. His kids were age 5, 4, 3, and 9 months old. My brother would have their bedroom and put the crib in with him. The other 4 children would be sleeping in my sister and my bedroom. The other 3 children, that was the typo on my part. So there was 2 of us and 3 of them, so there was 5 children in 1 bedroom. There will be a set of bunk beds, 2 single beds, and 1 double bed in the bigger bedroom. My mom and dad would move their bedroom to the living room downstairs. The bathroom was upstairs in the 2-bedroom farmhouse we rented from my grandparents, so my parents would have a chamber bucket to use the bathroom for late at night. My mom was a rescuer, and she was not going to allow her grandchildren to have to be separated in foster care. My brother got custody because of his wife's infidelity, and that would never stop for her. I was standing beside a chair in shock when I finally allowed my 7-year-old tiny heart to speak up. "I don't want them to live here with us," I said sheepishly. I was slammed with an abrupt slap across my tiny face. My mom very brutally said, "You have nothing to say about this. You will be seen and not heard from now on." On that day, more than ever, I conformed and became the big nobody who deemed herself totally worthless except if she conformed and did her mother's every bidding. "I am right here, Mom, ready to serve your every bidding. Just please tell me that you love me," I would think in my little head. Heck, at least she could have tried to show me more than just holding me after she whacked me across the face and I cried. All the while she was telling me to stop crying because this was going to happen no matter what I said or did. Thanks, Mom, for explaining things. I would just continue to search for a purpose, nurturing, validation, and approval for most of my childhood. My mom's other favorites were her children who married someone who had status. Also, my mom would favor the men in her life. She would cater to men and we would have to serve them food first. She treated my future husband better than me when we were planning our wedding. She just adored her boys. The end of chapter 5. And I want to talk a little bit about YouTube and how it's for you to be on and entertain people. And it could be fun. And I know a few people in my life that could be on YouTube and probably get more views than me, like thousands and more views. Like my one daughter can sing well. The other one paints and draws well. They both actually paint and draw well. They both actually sing well. One just a little better than the other. She had more vocal lessons. The one that sings just a little better. She was trained in vocal. And her son plays piano beautifully. And the other one is her daughter is a beautiful artist. And my other granddaughter sings so beautiful. And then the other one dances really well. So they could have YouTubes, but they choose not to at this time. They're so busy with everything else in their life. And I'd like to close the show today by singing a little song that came to mind when I thought about my daughters. And I used to try to sing this song, and I sometimes sing it to our pet. We had a dog that lived 13 years, and now we have a new puppy, and I sing it to her sometimes. The song is called You Are My Sunshine. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. The other night, dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamed I held you in my arms. When I awoke, dear, I was mistaken. So I hung my head and I cried. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. And sometimes my daughters would argue with me and say, I treated this one better, I gave this one different things or more things at different times in my life. And I talked to them and I explained to them what was going on and why it was that way and what my husband said about the certain things that one got and the other didn't and what had to be accomplished or done and what was given to the other one. And at the end of the conversation, there was, oh, I understand. But there was a conversation. And there was jealousy. When I talk about being jealous, I think God is jealous for us. He wants us to love Him. And a child that's needing nurturing is going to be narcissistic and crying and screaming for a wet diaper to eat, to have milk and sustenance, formula, whatever, breastfed, and they're going to cry. And then when they get older, if they have a baby sister, whether it's a year after they're born or 7 years after they're born, there's going to be jealousy. But parents have to deal with that and talk nicely and explain. But I got to explain nothing. I was just told, you will be seen and not heard. You will shut up. And my one sister that was 7, the sister that's a year and 4 months older than me, when, or a year and whatever it is, she's about a year and a half older than me. She said, how do you think I felt when I was 7 and she was born? Oh, I think you felt a little jealous. I think when I'm 7 and I'm told there's 4 other children moving in, age 5, 4, 3, and 9 months, and your oldest brother who's 20, whatever, 25 now, is going to take our room and they're going to live with you. And you're explained why? Nothing. You're not told why. You're not told, I love you and I'd like you to help me and be part of this. You were told, shut up. So, anyway, that's why I get a little upset when I do read the book, but I want others to understand. And maybe they'll understand while they're struggling as adults because their childhood sucked. They didn't get validation. They weren't nurtured properly. Their parents could have been just too busy working, too busy caring for others, too busy on drugs, too busy being selfish, too busy being narcissistic. And don't blame yourself. I used to blame myself for anything that went wrong with the family. And yes, it's a mental health problem. And I just want people to heal from that. And I'm hoping that my books, when I do read them on here on YouTube, will help somebody. And I hope you're having a wonderful day and that everything's going okay. So take care and God bless.